All right. Hey, everyone. So, the podcast I listened to was called Criminal. And it was a pretty interesting podcast. The whole point of it was kind of to interview people who had done something wrong. But the ones I listened to, they weren't like criminals at all. They were just normal people who had done something that was like kind of usual for someone to do. I wouldn't really consider it like a bad thing. It was really well written. The narrator was very nice. She was very calm, collected. It was just like a very soothing vibe, even though some of the topics they talked about were kind of like hard to listen to. I feel like this setup though is kind of non-original. They bring on a guest, two guests usually, or it's a story about someone and another person, and they interview just one of them. I wouldn't call it that original. It would be more interesting, in my opinion, if they interviewed actual criminals, but they were just normal people. The stories were really good, though. They picked people who had interesting stories, and even one I didn't think would be good ended up being kind of interesting. It was about this ex police officer who was he rode a horse, and when he retired, his horse was sent to a farm, and that was like his bad deed. It was like he didn't like keep the horse, or like never went and visited the horse, but I don't know, like they kind of built up his attachment to it and made it seem like he was in the wrong for not visiting the horse, but take it with a grain of salt. But it was actually very interesting to hear about their story. This one was really good for empathy. Definitely pathos heavy. It was really like kind of emotional. I feel like I didn't really like the second one I listened to. It was a much stronger message, but it didn't really capture my attention as well. It was about a man who had thrown at a protest. He threw tear gas back into the police officers, and it was a much better message, but wasn't really as emotional. So I feel like that's something they could work on. But otherwise, it was pretty good. I probably wouldn't listen to it again just because I'm not a big fan of narrative podcasts, but give it a listen.